Okay. We are now live, I believe. Let me see if this is working. Hurrah. Okay, I believe that's working. Let me quickly ping my Discord server. Coolio. Hello, welcome in. I'm gonna give it until like 7:05 before we really jump into it, just to make sure that people are here. A little static sound on your side? No! Let me unplug my mic and plug it back in. Let's see what happens. Oh, wrong. Hello? Okay. How is this? Is that better? I know there's also lag, so I'm just gonna keep talking at you to make sure that the audio is going. Um, while hopefully this works. Still staticky, or are we doing better now? Better? Awesome. Okay, cool. Yeah, as I said, I'm gonna give everybody till around like 7:05. Still a little staticky? No! Okay, wait, that's really strange. Okay, as long as you can understand me. Oh, you know what it might be? My mic might be peaking. I might just be too loud. Um, Hold on a second. Let me turn down my gain. Okay, maybe that's a bit better. I'll be a little quieter, but that should peak a little less. Is this better? Sorry, it does end up being like every time I do any kind of stream thing, static on your end. No. Oh, oh Lord. Let me double check whether it is a like monitor and output. Okay. Sorry, every time. Oh God, that's really staticky. Okay, let me try this again. Um, where am I plugging my mic? Hello. Nope, that's not any better. What the hell? Hello. What? This is crazy that this is doing this. Okay. Let me try this. Hello. Oh, wait. Nope, that's not any better. What the hell? Hello. Nope. You know what it might be? I don't know if my audio control thing is going right now. Sorry, as per usual with this sort of thing, we end up having to do tech stuff on the spot because you never know how things are gonna go. Okay. Hmm. Hello. Wait! Wait, that fixed it. Okay, you know what it was? My freaking program that controls my sound wasn't on for some reason? That's so strange. That's so freaking strange. Anyways, this sounds better, right? This sounds a lot better. It sounds better to me when I'm monitoring it through my like when it's playing back to me. Is that better? Sorry about that earlier. That's really weird. Every single time I do any stream, even though I've been streaming for years, it ends up having to be like a tech issue that I have to solve every single freaking stream. We're good? We're much better? Yeah, no, it was real weird that that was staticky because I have a fancy freaking mic. I have an Elgato mic, so like it should not have been doing that. Okay, this is a lot better, and I'll keep my like monitor headset on. It's gonna feel a little weird for me because there's gonna be like a little bit of feedback for me because there's gonna be like ever so slightly a bit of lag in what I'm hearing, what I'm saying, but should be fine. Should be fine. All right. Okay. And now it is 7:06, and I guess as promised, we're gonna. Why is the static back? Okay. Wait. No. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Okay. Ah. Ah. Please. No. What the hell? What is happening? Are you okay? What the heck? You know what? Okay, maybe I need to do this. What we're gonna do is I'm going to close all of the other programs on my computer and hope for the best. Yo, now why won't it let me look at OBS? Okay. Oh boy. Hold on a second. Why is this not closing? No, I am trying to. It's Task Manager that isn't letting me click on things right now, which is strange. Okay, end task. I'm gonna do that. And maybe let me unplug and plug in again. That's. What the hell? Yo, I'm so sorry. Hello. Nope. Nope. Is this ever so slightly better? Sorry, you got my head. Hello. Can I hear that? Nope. Okay. How about this? And can you hear me? Good? And it's better than before? It's no longer a robot. Wow, I'm so sorry about that. That's so strange. See, I had done the smart thing and I had actually test streamed yesterday. I did actually try it out to see if it would work, and it did. And I don't know why today it decided to crap out on us. Okay, that's extremely irritating. Sorry, we're also gonna have to do it off of my laptop mic now, because it just wasn't working. Okay, so you can all hear me fine. We're all good here. Great. Then I'm gonna pull up the presentation, and we are going to lol, that's tech for you. I know, right? Like, I did all the things right. I did do a test stream yesterday, and I like checked if it would work, and for some reason today it completely crapped out on us. Okay, well, the good thing about that is that it gave people enough time to sort of like get into the stream. So welcome to my webinar, How to Capture Likeness in Portrait Studies. Today, what we're going to be doing is essentially a demo for this exercise that I recommend to my students once they're actually like farther along in the course and therefore have had like more practice with like the fundamentals that I teach in the course. So as a quick introduction, hi, I'm Mulesy. I'm a New York City based artist who has never been able to give up their passion for scribbling pretty anime people. I've been digitally drawing since I was 14. I'm mostly self-taught. I've really only taken art classes like as a pretty young kid where instead of doing the still life exercises that my teacher wanted me to do, I would throw tantrums until she let me draw anime girls. And then in my teenage years, I learned, there's a reason that she wanted me to draw still lifes and draw from life and stuff. It is unfortunately because it is a lot easier and nicer to draw the anime girls if you know what the fundamentals are. So now I mostly run all of my art stuff through social media. I'm always learning, and I also love to share what I've discovered through that. So this webinar is sort of like a taste of how I teach. So let's now, all right. And so sort of just like jumping straight into, I guess, the like demo part, if my tech once again cooperates with me. I'm gonna kill something. Okay, cool. So today I pulled up this picture of Alyssa Liu, and we're essentially gonna be doing examples of like the sort of like sketch exercise that I did like in all of the marketing and like this exercise that I did yesterday. So this is just going to be essentially me talking through my process, and through that process hopefully you'll also see like how potentially you could also be doing these kind of studies. So first, what we're going to do is we're going to get the big shapes. So I'm just going to choose, and for the style of these studies, I like to just keep it at like one color, because the whole idea is that in keeping it monochrome, it's going to make it like you're going to be able to focus more on the values, and that's going to be able to help you also as well with um your like feature portraits if you are sort of going for a more semi-realistic style the same way that I am, but at the same time also like knowing the fundamentals is going to help you with stylization, because it's the whole like know the rules before you can break them. You're gonna be able to figure out like how to really stretch those rules while still also having like having anatomy and stuff that looks appealing, if you know what the basis of all of that stylization actually is. So I've got here this like oval brush that I'm gonna be drawing with. If you're joining the course, I'll probably also be able to dump this brush in our private student area. So we're gonna start with blocking out the really large shapes. So I've cropped her photo to be this sort of like rectangular size. So even before I think about the anatomy, I'm gonna think about like the overall composition of the figure. So we've got sort of like this big rectangle for the hair. We've got like another rectangle for her shoulder that's like a little more tilted. I've got like a rectangle here that sort of is indicating her other arm. Um, and that truly is, this is just blocking out essentially like what is the negative space, aka the background, and then what is like the positive space that hopefully I will be drawing. And then also just like an idea of like probably where her face actually is. It ends up being her hair sort of like her hair is like a nice reference point for us here, because like not only do we get like the top of her head here, we get like her hair part, which is pretty usefully in the middle of her face. We also get like this part of her hair that covers her face that sort of gives us a sense of like, okay, where are things going to be placed? So that's the first large overall sketch layer. Next, I'm going to move into blocking out some of these shapes a little more in a little bit more detail. So grabbing sort of the idea of the of like her face shape, and then just really carving out sort of like, again, it's just refining those larger shapes into slightly smaller shapes. But as I say in the course, everything is shapes. And in the course itself, there's exercises that you like that I recommend to help you train your eye on how to even start identifying the shapes and stuff like that. Because a lot of drawing, honestly, is learning how to see, and hopefully by doing some of the stuff that I recommend, you will also be learning how to see. So here I've started with like the really large shapes of like, this is her hair, here's her shirt, here's her shoulder, some ideas of that. I think also here, let me get this arm before I answer your quick question. Um, can you talk more about your course? Is it live or is it recorded? So it's a series of pre-recorded videos. It's 40 plus hours of content. So in that sense, you'll be able to do everything like self-paced, and you will always be able to go back and reference what it is that you just watched, and so that you don't have to like, it's not like you watch it once through and then you're like done and you're like, oh no, I don't remember what was being said. It's pre-recorded. But then at the same time, so not only are you going to have that sort of like self-paced component where I am sort of like giving you the bulk of what I am trying to teach you, I also have a private area in my Discord server that's only accessible to students of the course, where you will be able to like share what you're working on, ask for feedback, not only from your fellow students, but also from me. I will give you personalized feedback on your pieces as well, if you actually do like pop in there and ask for it. And it's lifetime access. So I can give you an example of like the sort of like feedback that you might receive from me. So like this was a piece that was done by one of my students. And then they asked if I could do a paint over. So I recorded the process of the paint over, and then also sort of like explained, had some screenshots as well that like explained like what each step was, the big ideas. So yeah, I think like not it is nice to like have those pre-recorded videos, but honestly, I think most of the value of the course is going to be in that sort of like self-directed, like asking for help. I'm not going to be like on call 24/7 because unfortunately I do have a lot of other things that are also going on in my life, but I will try to get my feedback to you whenever I can. And also pop in whenever I can. But also like it's plugging you into the community of like fellow students who are also like sort of on the same journey as you. And that will also like, it's also nice to be able to like learn with the encouragement of other people, like to not be alone in this, because that's also one of the problems with like being self-taught. It's like you feel pretty alone because you're just like sitting in your room by yourself and like drawing and trying to get better, but then like there's no real feedback. So that's also why it's like nice to have the other students as well. All right, so we've got the big shape, we've got the big so going back to the demo, we've got big shapes: arm, shirt, arm, hair, face. And now I get to go in and also sort of start thinking about her facial features. So I think potentially this is going to be a little trickier because hopefully I've measured out her face correctly. But if I haven't, then we're going to move stuff around. But that's also the beauty of digital art. You can edit afterwards. Yes, it is a little like, try not to use it as a crutch.
like one of the, you'll see me erasing here, but honestly, I really shouldn't be erasing as much as I probably am. But it is like nice to not have to like completely start over every single time you have something that's a little wrong. I think it's still like a good exercise, even if you are getting stuff wrong and you're sort of like using the liquify tool to move stuff around. I think that's still useful because what it is that like if you're intentional about it, you're essentially you're still practicing your eye. So you're practicing to see like you're able to then identify, okay, what actually looks wrong, and then what can I like, what should I fix for next time? How do I fix this? And then therefore know like what I even have to pay attention to in the future. And I'm gonna use, I realized that her cheek is a little rounder than I've drawn it, so I'm just gonna carve that out. Get a general sense of like where her lips are. I'm gonna fix the shape of that later. And then also get the idea of her eye over here, which is slightly like, it's a little bit rectangular. It's more like, it's like a parallelogram. And sort of goes there, I think. I may have drawn her eyes actually also a little bit small, so I'm going to grab my selection tool, make it into a lasso tool so I have that ability to select exactly what I want and make her eyes just a little larger. Cool. And I think honestly also I'm going to use this liquify tool to sort of just like nudge some of the features around, because I think what I did is I drew her bangs too long, and therefore her face not long enough. So we're just going to fix these proportions a little bit. And I think I also drew her face a little bit too small. So I'm just going to bring that up and bring that larger. But do you see how it's like more of an exercise in like just being able to see what's happening? Because like I put pen to paper, or I guess pen to digital canvas. Um, but what I am really trying to practice is my ability to see and then therefore translate that into what I am doing. Because I mean, like, yeah, there's no, this is visual art. There's kind of like no drawing without seeing. So this is sort of like, I'm going to consider that my second pass. I like to do like 3 or 4 passes in Sketch usually. And I think I put her iris is actually in the wrong place. I want her to be looking at me. So she's going to be, if I put it here, and I think her eye actually goes out a little more. I'm actually now, instead of erasing, I'm just going to grab the color of the canvas and paint over it. Because instead of like hiding layers, I'm just going to be drawing on top of it as if it's like acrylic that I'm like replacing. And I think her face actually is also at like a slightly more, she's looking like upwards at us from like a downward angle, so therefore her eyes are actually like, the inner corners of her eyes are going to be pointed down a little more. Did accidentally draw her a little bit more like a Bratz doll than I intended, but maybe that will stay in the later sketch, maybe it won't. So now I am going to really zoom in and try to like capture her features. So all of this, what we were doing before, is more like blocking out where things are. So that I can do another layer that really gives us like, allows me to focus in on like what things actually look like on a more realistic level. She's got super heavy eyeliner, so I'm gonna make my brush larger, really color that in. And I can't really see her eyebrows, but I'm gonna guess that they're around here. I'm probably gonna cover it with her hair later. I'm gonna catch this side of her nose. She has a little bit of a little bump there. And then it's gonna catch the roundness in her nose. I think there's her nostril, which is, this nostril is more in shadow, but we will add that shadow later after I get sort of like the quote unquote line art down. I think I also was a little bit too aggressive with the shapes there, so I'm just going to soften that up a little bit and also maybe move the bridge of her nose out a little more. And I'm going to capture this shadow on this side of the nose that will help us give the structure of the nose. There's the nostril. There's a mole. There's another one of her moles. And then she's also got two moles over here. Really, I should be drawing the moles at the end. But I feel like if it brings you joy, you might as well do it now. But it probably will end up getting covered in a second. Okay, and then trying to capture the shape of her face. It like sort of, she has that thing where like it's like she has that pouch of like muscle or fat that's like around the edge of the mouth that a lot of people have. I'm also going to get her mouth shape now. I like to do it where I do the center of the mouth, and then once I get the center of the mouth, I can really add the lip shape, lips and lip shape. And yes, I think also I may have drawn her eyes just a little bit too round, so I'm gonna move that up a little bit and move this down. Yes, and I think a lot of the sort of like smoldering look that's gonna happen is gonna be in the shadows. Um, are your videos about digital art? Do they talk about textures? It's mostly based on digital art, and for textures, it's more like the like rendering that, like textures that you get in rendering. So it's more about like leaving brushstrokes and that sort of thing. Um, and those honestly you'll get more through, I have like a couple demos in there, like full painting demos that I record and then paint that I paint and then record my voiceover and thoughts throughout it. Because the problem with like once you get to like the painting rendering stage is that there's a lot of little fiddly bits that really you can't, it's hard to like remember to capture in like or and also hard to remember like each step of it. So it's easier, I think, to actually just watch someone do it and then like explain their thought process as they're doing it to sort of like catch the little tips that are helpful for it. But also like I'm very happy to add more content if my students need it. So I'm also going to be adding, like right now I don't have like a like standalone color video because uh I think I thought it would be already captured by my like painting demos. But then the students really requested it, so I'm like, okay, I will be recording that and also adding that to the course later. I'm also going to be adding more demos as we go. Um, yeah, truly based on student need. And then most of the time, like if you ask for feedback and like you don't request that it be private, then we can then you'll also be able to like see the feedback that I give other students, which could also be helpful because maybe they're also like at a similar like part of their journey as you are. I'm gonna make this eye a little smaller. I made it too large and now I've made it sorry, I made it too small, now I made it too large, and I'm gonna make it smaller again. And we're gonna try to get that rectangular shape in the eyeball again. I messed that up. And let's see. Yeah. Okay, cool. I think that more or less looks like her. Sick. Cool. So we've got the main features, and a lot of her look actually is like in the shadows, so we'll add that in later. I'm not going to draw that smile line because that will age her a little too much. And I think also I'm going to move her mouth over a little more because it's more like, it's slightly more rectangular. I think I've drawn it a little round here. Cool. Yeah. Yeah, in short, to answer your question, the videos are about digital art. You do end up talking about textures when you're drawing digital art anyways, especially in rendering, because there's a lot in like painting where you kind of don't, you can't see what the thing is unless you actually figure out how to texture it. Especially like, for example, like hair. It's hard to convey that it's hair if you don't know how to actually texture the hair. But then if you also want like other videos about like that are more specific to other ways of like understanding texture, I'm happy to add them. Cool. So now we've got her face. I'm going to move on to adding her hair. So she's got like this big, she's got, her hair's actually like very straightforward in a sense, her haircut, because it's just like straight hair that has been dyed with the rings, which is sick, by the way. I wish I could actually keep up with like more like cooler haircuts. The problem for me though is I recently like bleached my hair for the first time and like really dyed it. And the texture that my hair ended up being, I was like, I can't do this. I'm not strong enough for this. It was so uncomfortable for me personally. So I'm like, ooh, I guess the dyed hair and textured hair isn't for me. I'm just gonna keep my black hair. So yeah, hers is pretty straightforward. Bangs, side hair, and then it's all straight. So then it's really just sort of like thinking about, for her hair, it's kind of easiest to think about it in just like a sheet. So she's just got like one giant sheet of hair here. And then what we'll do is we'll texture the tips later to help. So then that will help indicate that, yes, it is hair. So we've got that giant sheet. We've got this flyaway strip of hair here. And then we've got also the hair that goes down her back and sort of helps then define the shape of her back. And I'm gonna make the hair actually a little bit longer. Okay, cool. And now dealing with the shirt, here I'm just gonna get the general shape of the shirt. Maybe it's a dress. I guess the top part, you can't really tell anyways. But so there is, this sort of captures that shadow that's there, and therefore I can get sort of like the roundness of her arm, and where is her, this is sort of like where the other sleeve or her torso is, and then her other arm is around here. Now I'm just going to cut it off here because I do not feel like drawing her hand. Yep. I'm thinking about doing also an additional course that will focus on like anatomy and clothing, because it's kind of, if you want to learn body anatomy, that also probably means that you want to learn like how to clothe it. So that's all going to be together. But I need to record it. But hopefully that is in the pipeline. And I will be releasing it sometime. But you can keep an eye out for that. Okay, cool. So now we've got like what I consider like the main line art. I'm gonna make that second sketch where we had blocked out those big shapes, or sorry, blocked out the features a bit more. So we went from big shapes to blocking out the features to then actually refining the features. So I'm gonna hide that a little more. Hide that again. I'm gonna put this on multiply so that I can shade in now the values. So now we can really think about values. And what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna keep, it's gonna be mostly based on opacity, just like how much I press down on the brush. If it's like the true color of the brush, that's gonna be my darkest values. So now I'm literally just gonna start blocking in those shadows, because this picture is really cool in that there's like so much, the contrast is really high. So actually there's a lot that ends up kind of just being like a big blob of shadow. It's gonna look whack for a bit, but trust me, trust the process. It's gonna look fine, I swear. What does value mean here? Value is how light or dark things are. And most of her actually is also in shadow, so I'm just gonna block in a little extra blue and then grab the color of the background to sort of add those highlights back in. Actually, I'm just going to use an eraser. That's a lot easier. And just sort of start erasing out again where the light should really be hitting. Is contrast so you have greater contrast when the values are more like different. So this and this. Do you see how the white is super like is very bright and then the black is the same? Contrast isn't the same as value. Contrast tells you how much variance there is in the value. So this is high contrast versus like this does not have as high contrast. But these are all sort of, we're only thinking in highlights and shadows here. We're not thinking in color. We're literally thinking about like, okay, how bright is the thing? How dark is the thing? You're welcome. Yeah, I go into that more in depth in the course itself. So here I'm just, again, just blocking out the shadows. And really, like, you don't get three-dimensionality or like depth in anything if you aren't careful about how you like, if you don't have any like value contrast. Because you only see the world because of like what's in light, what's in shadow, right? If there's no light, you can't see. So that's why there's a lot of emphasis on values once you get to a certain level of art. Like once you get past like the basic idea of different forms, you start thinking about, okay, how light or dark is a thing. So literally all I'm doing is I'm just blocking in various shadows. And then also going to shade in her irises because they're very, very dark. And then probably emphasize her. I need to emphasize like the shadow on the side of her nose a bit more, underneath her nose a little more. Really get the shadow here, but then also grabbing some of the background for that light area underneath her chin. And I think her blonde is probably like around this darkness. And then later what I'm going to do is go over the top again with just to help like with some of that contrast because I think some of it got lost. Let's put it on normal actually. No. Put it back on black. Okay. Okay. I've blocked in like the big ideas of where the shadows kind of are. I'm gonna lighten it up. Wrong layer. I'm gonna lighten this a little bit. And then on top of it, really go into where I want there to be clearer edges. I think here I made her smile lines just a little bit too the smile lines like are standing out too much because in fact I've added too much contrast. So I'm gonna flatten that out a little more just to help make her not look as old as sometimes. Unfortunately, with the smile lines, there are certain like lines where if you've added it, or like creases or lines where if you draw it, your subject, like even though it is there and you can see it, your subject will look like too old for your purposes. So you do need to be careful about like adding those sometimes. So now I'm just gonna texture the hair, sort of add her part back into her hair. And I think I'm gonna use some of this background to like get the highlights in her hair back in. Might have made her a little too innocent. Oh, I think her eyebrows are actually lower down than I've drawn them. What program am I painting with? This is Clip Studio Paint. Let's get her bangs down here so they're covering her eyes more. And I'm also gonna liquefy and then drag her face out a little bit. And make her mouth a little bit larger. Define her nostrils. Help fix that shape of the nose a little more. I love how this looks almost like watercolor. Yeah, if so what I'm doing right now is my brush is kind of it's not 100% opaque. Actually no it is. But what it is it like has I have it like with pressure dynamics. So based on how hard I press, it will either deposit only a little bit of color or like a lot of color. So because I am painting with like a lighter hand, it's not putting down a ton of color every time I put my like brush to the tablet, which is why it sort of like ends up looking, I think, a little bit more watercolory. But that sort of is like the style that we're going for here. Yeah, so at this point it's really just like going through and trying to like refine parts of like what I put down. Like here, I'm just painting over it because I would like my brush strokes to blend in a bit more because I want it to read as like one huge shadow a little more, except for where we should be able to see the stripes in her hair. So that's why I'm going over and sort of like we're losing the line art that was in those areas, which really was just sort of like sketch lines. Here I'm just carving out that bit of hair again that's like going over her shoulder. I've never ever done any digital painting. Thank you so much for teaching this. It's wonderful. Thanks for being here. Yeah, and if you stick around to the end, there's actually gonna be a discount code for my art course where we'll like go over more of the fundamentals. Because again, this is like a slightly more advanced exercise because this exercise does assume that you already like when I talk about big shapes, when I talk about like you already sort of like know what like eyes and mouths and nose and all of that already look like. And like know how to break it down into something that like will hopefully translate when you're painting. Um, so that's why this is like I've marked it as a more advanced exercise. Um, but the course itself does have like me breaking down all of those other concepts for you to hopefully make it a little easier to just approach digital painting. I love digital painting. I don't have enough patience for traditional a lot of the time. It's so much setup, it's so much waiting for things to dry. It's so much just like having to set up your station and all that versus like digital art. I can just like sit down and open a canvas and I can just start drawing. I don't have to wait for things to dry. I don't have to wait for like anything really to happen. Um, and I can just go. And then you also like get to have it in like so many different formats because you've already digital like it started off digital, so like you don't even have to digitize the thing. So I'm just gonna right now I'm trying to get that highlight that's on the edge of her mouth and also make sure that I am getting we've lost her mouth shape a little bit in adding the values, so now I'm just sort of like adding the lips back in. And getting that shadow underneath the mouth on the chin again. A little bit too aggressive. That's okay. And because again, the beauty of digital art is that like even as you go, you can help like change things a little bit. But also like when you're traditionally painting, at least for some mediums, like you can still paint over it. Like oils and also like acrylic and like wash sometimes. So a lot of my digital painting techniques also are like sort of learned and applied from traditional art mediums. So like one thing that I've learned recently about how to do color, it like really does look like how oil painters add color to their canvases sometimes, and I really enjoy that technique. So it really isn't like you're learning completely new techniques. You'll be able to apply it across different mediums. So that sort of gets us to like I could keep going. I could keep going, but also I think I've achieved like most of the goal of what I wanted to do, which was get a pretty decent portrait of Alyssa Liu. We're gonna add her little glitter dots that are underneath her eyes. And then I'm gonna stylistically add a highlight to her eye, even though she doesn't have any in the reference photo. Wow, I love the highlights. That nose and lips are becoming almost real right in front of me. This is so fantastic. Yeah, no, that's also like what's really cool about this is like it really once you start like really focusing on the values, it's kind of incredible how like only a few brushstrokes like really change the whole thing. I'm afraid I will get into digital art, take time to learn it, and then AI will take over, lol. Well, okay, the thing is, one thing about like AI is like it still needs human input to be able to even do output. So I'm like when they say that Gen AI bubble is collapsing, I'm like, yeah, it's going to at some point because if you just sort of recursively feed itself its own output, it can't create like it what it outputs is no longer intelligible. There's papers, there's studies on this about model collapse. And then also like even if you go in digital art, like it's like human expression of joy, right? Gen AI can't do that. Unfortunately, for like the job market, I can't promise anything there because the economy of the world is the way that it is and a shit show. But um, I think there's no harm in still like learning the practice. And in I don't know, I'm gonna keep drawing. I'm gonna keep drawing. I'm gonna keep painting because they can't take that from me. I really like being able to make, and I am always making. And really at some point we're going to start learning like various techniques to help us like protect what we have made. Like there's that team over at U Chicago who made like Glaze, which is like this program that you can put your art into, which will make it very difficult for Gen AI to actually train off of it because of the way that it like sort of compresses your image with like certain values to make it hard to then be able to tokenize in a way that like for like when Gen AI is like trying to train on data, it needs to tokenize it, and that team has figured out how to like re-output certain images so that it's very hard or like will mess with any Gen AI model that's trying to like train on it. Any for visual models, for models that do visual outputs, they're usually GANs, and for any models that are doing text output, they're usually LLMs, large language learning models. Yeah, love your response. Thank you. Really cool seeing this coming live. Yeah, thank you again for coming. And honestly, yeah, I think this is more or less it. We are pretty done, and that gives you like a taste of like how I teach, and we got it done in an hour. So it's a pretty quick exercise. Like it doesn't, and it also does like really get you through the foundations of like at least like my style and like how I like to draw, which is very which I've coined as like semi-realistic uh anime inspired art. Because I like drawing noses and like other features like a little too much to be able to like really give it up for the way that like stylization works a lot of time, but like you can still very much see the anime influence in like how I draw. So that's where that came from. But yeah, I know that the value is so informative. I've learned so much today already. Thank you. You're a fantastic teacher. Thank you so much for coming. Okay, before you go, I do need to actually shill my course to you a bit more. Let's see. Can I get this here? Okay, cool. Can you see the slides? They should be there. Okay. So if you enjoyed that webinar, I also have a digital art course, as I've said at the top of the stream. So my digital art course is called Bring Any Character to Life with Semi-Realistic Portraits. It's 40 plus video lessons. It's more than 7 hours of step-by-step portrait training. It's 7 in-depth modules. And it is a self-paced course. We're going to focus on understanding shape, color, and light. And it really starts from the fundamentals. So it is beginner friendly, but then there are also layered modules that will be helpful for intermediates. But at the same time, like if you are slightly further along in your art journey, I don't think it's like hurtful to still go over the fundamentals just in case I explain it in a way that is different from like what you've seen before. I've actually had already a student go like, oh, actually this was extremely helpful how you like went over the fundamental understanding of like how to even think about the human face, because I've seen it explained in other techniques elsewhere, but your technique then also like really, because I had like heard it in a phrased a different way, it then really helps me understand how I can even like think about things in perspective. So, and you'll also get, as I said, you'll get personalized feedback if you ask for it. So we have a private student community where you will be able to interact with other students and also get their feedback and their encouragement, but also be able to ask for my feedback personally. So how you can sign up, one second, I will drop a link. Let me grab that link real quick. But yeah, so you'll get a lifetime access. You can access it from any device. There's a, oh, it's not actually 30-day money back guarantee. It's a 15-day money back guarantee. Sorry about that. And there is also continual like addition of new content. So I am always happy to add stuff. If students ask for it. They may not always be added like immediately because I do need time to like record it and figure out how I'm even going to explain it. But they will be added. I'm usually pretty good about my promises to other people. So here is going to be a link to portrait special offer. So this is going to be a link to a that didn't work. Did that work? I spelled it wrong. Give me a second. Hold on. I missed an R. Okay, let me try this again. Multi art course, not multi art house. Multi art course. Yes. Okay. So this is a link to a special offer where you will get um $50 off of the full price. And it's only going to be active for the next 72 hours. For right now, registrations for like the course itself is closed because we do it in batches. So then I can actually like onboard, teach like one batch of students, figure out what I need to improve, and then we'll be able to then like open it up to another batch of students. It makes it more manageable for me. It makes it more manageable for like everybody else in the server as well. So the next registration will be in April, but you really should go to this link right now to get that discount code. So yeah, that's the webinar. And thank you so much for coming. And I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any right now. And also a version of this stream will live on my YouTube channel. And so if you do want to like come back and like see again what I had explained in this webinar, it will be here. Thank you for your webinar. It was nice drawing with someone again. What's the Discord? Would like to join? Yes. Let me grab that for you. Just making sure everything. Things are loading slowly on my network today. I don't know why. Okay, let me grab my Discord link, copy link address. Here you go. So this is for my Discord server. You won't be able to access the student area until you actually pay for the course, but once you pay for the course, that's the Discord where the private student area will also live. But in general, that's also sort of like the Discord server where like my general community sort of congregates, because I also live stream sometimes. That has been happening more and more sporadically, unfortunately, because I've gotten pretty busy. But that's also like where I will be sharing, like, it's the easiest way to like keep up with my updates and that sort of thing. And yeah, thank you for this awesome session. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much. I joined a little bit late, but I still learned so much. I will talk to my hubby tomorrow, and hopefully I'll be signing up for the course. Oh my god, yay! Okay, hope to see you there. Yeah, make sure to get this. Sorry, I'm gonna paste the link again. Make sure you are going to this page, the special offer page, to get the discount. Okay, because like, hey, if you're gonna get, you might as well get a discount because you came here and hung out anyways. Hung out anyways. Yeah. Oh, and if you don't already follow me on my social medias, you can find more of me by going to music.card.co. That's my landing page, which also has links to all of my social media. I'll stick around for another 10 minutes in case there are any questions. But otherwise, thanks again for coming. This was lovely. And also, thank you so much for bearing with me for all the tech problems. I really don't know why my mic crapped out on me. That was crazy. Hope the mic is less troublesome for you in the future. Fingers crossed. It really better be. It really better be. I paid $150 for this mic back in 2021. Oh wait, no, it has been like 5 years. But I paid good money for this microphone. It better fucking work. I think it might be because I'm like now set up on like a two computer setup. And I think maybe the computer that I want to use as my streaming computer isn't powerful enough for what I need it to do. I'm concerned. Because I didn't want I am running basically this entire thing on two laptops right now. One of them is an older laptop that I got in 2021. So maybe that laptop isn't good enough anymore. Maybe it can't cut it anymore, which will be sad. It would be sad. Oof. Yeah, no, because I was like, oh, if I have two laptops, then I can also put my VTuber back up right now. Because right now on like my main driver laptop, which is this really cool, like it's a framework computer, which means that it's like I can swap out all the parts. Because the entire idea behind framework is that they want to like help restore the right to repair. Um, so like I spilled matcha on my on my computer last week. So I was like, fuck, I need to order a new keyboard just in case this one craps out on me. Thankfully the keyboard on my computer right now hasn't crapped out on me yet. And actually it seems like the matcha hasn't affected it that much, so I haven't replaced the keyboard. But I can just like I don't have to change anything else in the machine. I can literally just replace the keyboard component. I don't have to buy another $1,000 machine. I can just replace the keyboard, and by myself, I don't have to go to like the Genius Bar or anything like that. But yeah, no, it's crazy how quick things go out of date. It's called planned obsolescence. That's what that fucking is. Because that is the world we live in. Yeah. Um, but yeah, no, this laptop is cool, but it also doesn't have a dedicated graphics card. Which means that it's every time I stream, the fans go crazy. So I'm really hoping the audio is okay right now because I am using the laptop's native microphone right now because again, my nice microphone cracked out on us. So I'm really hoping that that microphone did not kill, like you can't hear the fans as much because the fans sometimes really get in the way. It's good. You don't have to replace it for real. Audio is great. Okay, thank God. Thank God. Yeah. That's also one of the cool things about like this laptop is that it has like built-in covers for the mic and the laptop webcam as well. So I'm like not scared of like accidentally turning stuff on when I'm not supposed to. Yeah, don't hear fans. Thank God, because I can hear the fans. The fans are going crazy right now because I am now like the stream and then also like the artwork itself is all on the same computer right now, and that is it's going insane. It is going genuinely a little bit insane. Um, there's a straight line. Why is there a straight line? Oh well, that's okay. Thank you. It was very fun hearing your class. Thanks again for coming. I do like teaching. I like being helpful. That's my complex. Like I know that I am good enough to teach. But also, sometimes like again, it's the whole thing with like I'm mostly self-taught, right? So it's hard to remember that you're actually like good at a thing sometimes. And then I like did that paint over for the student and I was like, "Oh, I shouldn't doubt myself ever again." I am indeed good enough to teach you guys, and it's always so nice. It's so like one of my students wrote me this like super long review of like 5 paragraphs, which is crazy. Like they sent it to me in Discord like DMs of the course itself because I was like I would love to like hear feedback if you have any like and if you have like a review of the course that would also be really helpful for also like for you guys like if you're signing up like in if you're gonna sign up in like the April cycle or like in the future it's probably good for you to hear from one of the students who has already gone through the course. They wrote like 5 paragraphs and it was all like so sweet. They were like, this actually is helpful. And I'm like, wow, I'm so glad. For sure, imposter syndrome, careful not to over render, will like get caught up in those details for hours. Yeah, exactly, right? Feedback is always great. Yeah. No, like right now I'm like, I could do more, but at the same time, I think if I do more, it's gonna fuck it up. So it does become like an exercise in like knowing when to stop. So like another one is like again, back to like the paint over. I could do more. I could do more, but also honestly, I should just leave it like this because it's also nice to be able to see the paint strokes. Or if I go to, oh, this was a recent commission I did where like Yeah, I probably still could do more. There's parts where like I could render more. But at the same time, like it already looks really nice as is, and it's kind of nice to be able to see the like different brushstrokes. And honestly, if I added any more detail, it would actually look more messy. It would be really like overcrowded. It would just be like really distracting for the eyes. Yeah, always good to have community. I know, right? All right. Okay, I think I'm gonna head out. But thank you again for coming to the stream. The stream again will live on my YouTube channel afterwards, and also keep an eye on your email if you didn't catch the um Discord. Sorry, if you didn't count the if you didn't catch the link with the discount for my course, which again registrations will open again in April. And keep an eye out on your email for not only a link to sort of like the webinar as like as it living forever on my channel, but also like the discount link. Thanks again for attending, and hope to see you in the Discord and also my future course.